Hello, friends. Private, is that a dog hiding under your coat? The young American soldier froze as his commanding officer discovered the stray Boston Terrier he'd been concealing. Rather than punishment, what happened next would change military history forever. The little dog saluted the officer by raising his paw to his eyebrow, just as he'd been taught. That small gesture saved Sergeant Stubby from being left behind as troops deployed to the Western Front in 1917. Today, we're tracing the remarkable journey of this ordinary stray who would go on to catch German spies, detect incoming gas attacks before humans could, and become the most decorated war dog in American history, all because he learned how to salute. Imagine a soldier's camp in 1917, bustling with young men preparing for a war unlike any before. The 102nd Infantry Division trained rigorously at Yale University, their minds focused on the European battlefields awaiting them. But among the khaki uniforms and military precision, something unexpected appeared. A small dog with distinctive tiger-striped fur and a stubby tail wandering between tents, seemingly without fear. This wasn't just any stray. When Private J. Robert Conroy spotted the Bull Terrier mix exploring the camp, something about the dog's confident demeanor caught his attention. Despite strict military regulations explicitly forbidding pets in training camps, Conroy made a decision that would unknowingly change military history. He kept the dog and named him Stubby. You might wonder what made this particular dog worth risking disciplinary action. Perhaps it was the immediate connection Stubby formed with the soldiers, providing a much-needed reminder of the normal lives they'd left behind. The commanding officers, noticing how Stubby boosted morale among the troops, quietly allowed the violation to continue. What makes Stubby's story truly remarkable is how quickly he adapted to military life. While modern military dogs undergo months of specialized training, Stubby learned everything on the fly. He began participating in morning drills alongside the soldiers, somehow understanding the routines and expectations. Conroy worked with him during off hours, teaching him commands that would prove invaluable once they reached the front lines. Stubby's most impressive trick, a paw-to-eyebrow salute, became his signature move. This wasn't just a cute parlor trick, it would later save his life when higher-ranking officers discovered his presence. But before that moment of truth, Conroy faced an even bigger challenge, smuggling Stubby across the Atlantic Ocean. When deployment orders came, Conroy couldn't bear to leave his four-legged friend behind. He carefully planned Stubby's unauthorized journey aboard the SS Minnesota, hiding him inside his coat during boarding and then concealing him in the ship's coal bin until they were safely at sea. The risk was enormous. Had Conroy been caught, he could have faced serious disciplinary action. The inevitable discovery came when a commanding officer spotted Stubby on deck. As the officer approached, ready to order the dog thrown overboard, Stubby performed his perfect salute. The officer was so impressed by this display that instead of punishment, Stubby received something unprecedented, special orders designating him as the regiment's official mascot. Once Stubby's salute had secured his place with the regiment, the real test of his worth would soon emerge. The Western Front in 1918 wasn't just another battlefield. It was a hellscape where new weapons of war turned the air itself into a silent killer. While human soldiers relied on primitive gas masks and warning systems, Stubby would develop abilities that defied explanation. Imagine being hunched in a muddy trench when suddenly a small dog begins barking frantically at nothing visible. Would you trust this warning with your life? The soldiers of the 102nd Infantry quickly learned they should. After experiencing his first gas attack, Stubby developed an extraordinary sensitivity to mustard gas that military technology couldn't match. When he detected even trace amounts in the air, Well before human senses could register the danger, he would bark urgently, giving soldiers precious minutes to don masks and prepare for the coming cloud of death. Throughout his 18 months of service spanning 17 battles, Stubby's acute hearing became legendary among the troops. He could detect the distinctive whistle of incoming artillery shells before human ears, providing critical early warnings that sent soldiers diving for cover. Men began watching this small dog's behavior as attentively as they monitored their commanding officers. But perhaps his most remarkable ability emerged gradually. Stubby somehow learned to distinguish between English and German speech. This unexpected skill allowed him to locate wounded American soldiers calling for help in the desolate no-man's land between trenches, guiding medics to men who might otherwise have died alone in the mud. The battlefield took its toll even on this extraordinary canine. During the battle near Seicheprey in April 1918, Stubby suffered painful shrapnel wounds to his leg and chest. Rather than ending his service, this injury revealed another dimension of his value. While recovering at a Red Cross hospital, he transformed into a therapy dog before the concept even existed, visiting other wounded soldiers and lifting spirits throughout the ward. The French women near Chateau Thierry recognized Stubby's exceptional service by crafting him a chamois blanket jacket displaying Allied flags and his service chevrons. This uniform became his trademark in post-war appearances, a visible record of his battlefield contributions that even decorated human veterans admired. Despite his decorated jacket, Stubby's most extraordinary achievement was yet to come on a seemingly quiet night in the Argonne forest. While American soldiers dozed in their trenches, exhausted from the day's combat, something unusual was happening just beyond their perimeter. A German spy, moving with practiced stealth, had penetrated deep into American territory with a mission that could have ended in catastrophe for the 102nd Infantry. The spy was meticulously documenting the positions of American troops, sketching detailed maps that would have enabled a precisely targeted attack. In the darkness, human sentries had failed to detect the intruder. The German operative believed himself invisible, a fatal miscalculation when a certain four-legged sentry was on duty. Stubby, resting near Private Conroy, suddenly perked up his ears. His nose twitched, picking up an unfamiliar scent that didn't belong among the American trenches. While human noses couldn't distinguish between friendly and enemy soldiers in the darkness, Stubby's sensitive olfactory capabilities immediately registered the presence of an outsider. What happened next became the stuff of military legend. Without hesitation, Stubby charged through the darkness toward the intruder. Before the spy could react, Stubby launched himself forward and clamped his jaws firmly onto the seat of the German's pants. The startled spy struggled frantically, attempting to shake off his unexpected attacker, but Stubby held firm, refusing to release his grip despite the man's desperate attempts to escape. The commotion awakened Private Conroy and his fellow soldiers, who rushed to discover the source of the disturbance. There they found an extraordinary scene, their unit mascot tenaciously restraining a German infiltrator. When the soldiers searched the captured spy, they discovered maps of the American positions tucked into his uniform, intelligence that could have facilitated a devastating surprise attack had it reached German command. The military significance of Stubby's capture wasn't lost on the commanding officers. In an unprecedented break with military protocol, they awarded Stubby the rank of sergeant, making him the first dog in American military history to receive an official rank. This extraordinary promotion wasn't merely symbolic. It represented a fundamental shift in how military leadership viewed animals in warfare. What made this promotion particularly remarkable was that it allowed Stubby to outrank many human privates serving in the same unit. Military hierarchy, typically rigid and formalized, bent to acknowledge the exceptional contribution of a dog whose actions had potentially saved countless American lives. The incident made headlines across America, transforming Stubby from a beloved mascot into a recognized war hero. While headlines covered Stubby's heroism during the war, his return to America marked the beginning of an unprecedented chapter for a four-legged veteran. Unlike human soldiers who often faded into quiet civilian lives, Stubby emerged as a national celebrity with a reception typically reserved for generals and statesmen. The scale of Stubby's post-war fame is difficult to comprehend today. He led American troops in victory parades where crowds cheered not just for the human heroes, but especially for the small dog with the decorated jacket. What's truly remarkable is that this former stray would eventually meet three different U.S. presidents: Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, and Calvin Coolidge. An honor few Americans, let alone animals, have ever received. Think about this. While the military had no official protocol for honoring animal service, they made extraordinary exceptions for Stubby. General John Blackjack Pershing, the commander of the American Expeditionary Forces, personally presented Stubby with a gold medal from the Humane Society, declaring him a hero of the highest caliber. This wasn't just symbolic. It represented the military establishment's grudging acknowledgement that this small dog had contributed something significant to the war effort. Civilian organizations rushed to claim association with America's canine hero. The American Red Cross, the American Legion, and even the YMCA made Stubby an honorary member. The YMCA went further, issuing him what might be the most unusual membership card in their history, one that entitled him to 3 bones a day and a place to sleep for life. When Conroy enrolled at Georgetown University after the war, Stubby naturally followed. The university quickly adopted him as their mascot, where he entertained football crowds between halves by pushing a ball around the field. These halftime shows weren't just entertainment. They were living demonstrations of the intelligence and adaptability that had made Stubby so valuable on the battlefield. Despite all this recognition, the military establishment initially viewed Stubby as an exception rather than a proof of concept. No formal programs existed to train or utilize dogs in warfare. His achievements were treated as curiosities rather than evidence of what canines could contribute to military operations. Yet Stubby's legacy would ultimately prove far more significant than anyone could have predicted. Military historians now credit his well-publicized achievements with directly inspiring the creation of the United States K-9 Corps, which would be established just in time for World War II. His story had demonstrated that properly utilized dogs could serve as sentries, messengers, and even detect threats human senses couldn't perceive. When Stubby died on March 16, 1926, his passing was marked with full obituaries in major newspapers, including the New York Times and the Washington Post, an honor typically reserved for distinguished human citizens. His preserved remains were later displayed at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History, ensuring that tangible evidence of his historical significance would be preserved for future generations. Today, Stubby's story continues to inspire through the 2018 animated film Sergeant Stubby, An American Hero, and books like Ann Bowsom's Stubby the War Dog that ensure his legacy endures. These tributes go beyond mere entertainment. They preserve a pivotal chapter in the evolution of human-animal partnerships in military contexts. The bond between Stubby and Conroy mirrors what modern canine handlers experience today. As one handler beautifully expressed, in combat, a dog can sense your emotions and provide comfort in ways that humans sometimes cannot. This profound connection transcends language barriers and operational utility. What makes Stubby's story so remarkable isn't just what he accomplished, but how his achievements transformed our understanding of animal cognition. Without formal training protocols or established K9 programs, this ordinary stray demonstrated extraordinary capabilities that would later become systematized in military working dog programs worldwide. Next time you witness the steady gaze of a service animal or the dignified bearing of a military K9, remember their capabilities weren't created in training facilities. They were